I'm going to call the meeting to order at 4:06. And for traditional land acknowledgement, we acknowledge and respect the Indigenous peoples within whose traditional lands we are meeting today. Adoption of the agenda.
So moved.
All those in favor? All right, receipt of the minutes, any errors or omissions?
No.
All right, all those in favor, thank you. And move right to number 6, Mr. Nadery, Manager of Engineering and Infrastructure for the City of Castlegar with the 2026 Castlegar Parks Master Plan. Take it away, Ryan.
Thank you, Chair.
No one's even watching.
Hi, everyone. So my name is Ryan Idry. I'm the Manager of Engineering and Infrastructure for the City of Castlegar. Today I have the privilege of presenting a project overview for the Parks Master Plan. So I have you the whole time saying next slide.
Ready?
Just to touch on a few things that we're going to be discussing or touching on today, I guess. Today's presentation will hit existing parks in Castlegar, why we're here, some of the foundational work that we've done, the direction and the guidance that is guiding us, why we're doing this now, some regional context, the big one being comms and engagement for the project, and then what we're asking today and some of our next steps. So existing parks and green spaces. So as you can see, or perhaps not see from the figure on the left-hand side, the city owns and maintains living parks, trails, outdoor recreation facilities, and green spaces throughout the city. The park system provides a multitude of benefits for the community and the surrounding region, which leads us to why we're actually here today. Next slide. So why we're here. So thank you. So today, much work has been completed to improve the city's understanding of existing parks assets. However, we do not yet have a shared understanding of community priorities for park spaces, clear alignment between community expectations and levels of service provided within our parks, guidance for future growth, and we do not yet have transparent understanding of currently available resources. So as the problem statement speaks to, we're lacking the guiding framework. And without this, decisions about parks and recreation can be made reactively rather than strategically. So let's speak to some of that work that we do. So most recently, our foundation for this project is the Parks Asset Management Plan. So initiated with my predecessor, the city engaged Urban Systems to complete a Parks Asset Management Plan, which was finalized in early 2025. So as the slide shows, its scope included an asset inventory, condition assessment, an estimated replacement value for those assets. It assigned an expected life cycle for those assets and therefore gave an estimated remaining life of them. And it gave, and given that each asset, had an assigned life cycle and replacement value, it gave us a high level like-for-like financial summary for renewing those assets. So this was a lot of work and provides the foundation for a Parks Master Plan. And as I touched on with our council last night, some of us around the table might wonder, if this is such a great document, Ryan, why do we need a Parks Master Plan? What is the difference between a Parks Asset Management Plan and a Parks Master Plan? Next one. So Parks Asset Management Plan included that asset inventory, so what we have, the condition of those assets, the life cycle. It really was technical and data focused. And like I said, it gave us a high level financial analysis. So again, that like for like replacement of assets based on their life cycle and the estimated cost to replace them. So no strategy, just an annual funding amount based on the data available. If we were asked to replace everything in our parks just as a like for like, that would be it. That would be the case. We'd essentially be completed. But that's not what the community has been asking for. So for a Parks Master Plan, we've been looking at identifying community needs and priorities. So community input here is key. It would give us a prioritized capital investment plan. So prioritized planning of those investments being crucial. A well-laid plan is transparent in setting expectations for the community. It builds a sustainable funding strategy. So sustainable and manageable strategy means this isn't just a single year tax increase to address any funding gaps, but a strategic implementation to fund existing gaps. It would define levels of service, and I'll circle back to that one in just a moment. And last but not least, it's a council and by extension, a community endorsed guiding document. And if I can now, I'll circle back to just levels of service or defined level of service and what that means. You're good. Back, yeah. Back, couple more. Keep going.
It's the headache.
Keep going.
Next one. There you go.
There we go.
Oh, sorry, there we go.
You're
Good. Don't touch.
So levels of service, what do I mean by that? And this is a very wordy definition, but as a reference, it comes from EGBC, which is the Engineers and Geoscientists of British Columbia, and comes from their practice guidelines. So the defined service quality for a particular activity or service area against which service performance can be measured. So levels of service usually relate to quality, quantity, reliability, responsiveness, environmental acceptability. Level of service measures asset performance against customer and stakeholder requirements and values. Now, in practical terms, what does that mean? What are some examples of that? So the ones I like to use are things like the frequency of maintenance in our parks, mowing, irrigation. Do we mow it once a week? Do we mow it once a month? Is it irrigated? Is it not irrigated? The quality of the fields and the amenities and the standard to which they're built. Are we talking about a green space with some soccer goal posts, or is it a FIFA level standard soccer pitch? And do these spaces include things like gardens, water amenities, beautification elements? It's about defining what good or acceptable looks like, and the standards or efforts required to actually accomplish that and meet that. So to tie this all back to Castlegar's guiding document, which is our community plan. So as the overarching guiding document for the city of Castlegar, we would be remiss if we weren't taking direction from our community plan and cues from council's strategic plan when executing any master plan for that matter. So Forest Master Plan will help implement key directions from the city's OCP, specifically section 6.3, which speaks to community amenities. The goal of this project is to translate these objectives into actionable priorities with transparent guidance. So I'll highlight two of the OCP objectives above. Objective 78, that the city should continue to manage assets through its asset management plan. That includes a maintenance and monitoring program for all parks, open spaces, and recreation amenities. And objective 78, which notes monitor the community's recreation needs and assets to ensure that recreation programming and infrastructure continue to meet the needs of residents and collaborate on updates to the Castlegar Areas I and J Recreation and Cultural Master Plan, which was in 2016. So I don't have the entire definition up there on the screen because they're much longer than what's there, but nonetheless, if the OCP is our overarching guidance, council strategic plan is where that vision becomes action. So this Parks Master Plan will follow that route. Now, council sets their strategic priority, or their strategic plan, for a 4-year cycle. So for 2023 to 2027, City Castlegar's council set 4 priorities, and it provides a framework for decision making and resource allocation over that term. So in particular, just wanted to highlight Principle 1, Goal 5, and Principle 3, Goal 1, which both align closely with the Parks Master Plan. So with that alignment in mind, the question would be, why now? And there's a commonly known Chinese proverb, but nonetheless, the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago, and the second best time is now. So why now? we built a strong foundation. So the city's completed this parks asset management plan, giving us a much clearer understanding of what we own, maintain, and the condition of our park assets. We need to turn that insight into direction. So our community plan already identifies the importance of parks, rec, and open spaces. This parks master plan is the next step in turning the direction into clear guidance for future decisions in our parks. The community is asking for this. So we've, council, staff, all of us alike, we're hearing consistent interest from the community, whether it's new parks, upgrades, different service levels. At the same time, our community is evolving. Rec trends and user needs are changing. So demand for parks and amenities is growing, and new development brings new expectations to our community. These aren't isolated pressures, and we shouldn't be addressing them in a vacuum. So a parks master plan brings these together into a clear, coordinated direction. And we need a clear shared approach. Right now, we don't have formalized levels of service or a unified framework for prioritizing our investments. There's also an opportunity to review and potentially update regional roles and responsibilities. So this plan will help reestablish that shared approach moving forward. So again, why now? I'd say that this project isn't about reacting to a single issue, but rather being proactive and intentional as we move forward. So with that, as I mentioned, shared approach, we'll speak to regional context. So some of our parks and sports fields are regional assets. There's a shared role in parks and rec in our community. So a few key questions worth considering is what defines a city park versus a regional park? Are contributions aligned with service levels? And what guides future decisions for our regional parks? And as I let that regional thought simmer, we can turn our heads towards comms and engagement, the big part of the master plan. So, as I said, comms and engagement, crucial part of any master plan, and that's because we want to build the plan with the community rather than for the community. So thoughtful engagement strengthens trust and transparency in our decision making. And so for community and user groups, we'll be asking questions like, what are your needs today? What trends are you seeing with your users? And what does the future look like for your group? And for engagement, the project team will build and execute on a phased structured approach, which ensuring engagement, ensuring it's inclusive and accessible for all. And managing expectations, which I want to highlight because I think it'll be a big one for this plan and for us. But this process is going to involve meaningful community input, but it should clearly speak to limitations through this plan. So a couple important considerations, which I've been listed up above. Community desires may exceed available resources. The trade-offs between new projects and maintaining existing assets will likely be required. And not all priorities can be advanced at the same time. So our commitment in that is to be transparent about our constraints, use data and engagement to guide our decisions, and clearly communicate how priorities are going to be determined. So that key message there at the bottom is just the plan is about building the framework to make those informed choices, not about promising outcomes at the end of this plan. So, starting to pull together, what we're asking today is now that I've told you what the project is, or a general overview, why we're doing it, its importance, what we want to accomplish. The question I would pose to the group is there anything within this project overview that misses what you've been hearing from your communities? Does this project reflect what you're hearing from the community and align with your expectations? And plan for next steps. Our anticipated project timeline is to kick this off in 2026. Engagement phases will take place throughout the year and into 2027. We would anticipate a draft plan in 2027, which will be presented to this rec commission, as well as presented to City Council and Council for their consideration and adoption. And with that, I'll turn it back over to you for any questions.
Thanks very much, Ryan. I've got Director Hanegraaff and then, Commissioner Hanegraaff and then Commissioner Davidoff. or Henny.
As long as I'm off first.
Go ahead.
So I guess I'm a little bit confused in that this seems like a city plan. I don't think we have any say in it, although I'm sure if we had some key input, you guys would receive that, but really, this is a city plan for city assets and how the city is managing them moving forward. So I guess I'm kind of wondering why you're here, and not that I'm unhappy to see your report or listen to you talk, but typically when we get a delegation, they're seeking support, usually as financial kind, from this commission. And so I'm wondering, is that the end goal here? Like, this is, I'm gonna say it's unusual. I've only been here just under 4 years. I don't think I've seen anything quite like this before. Delegations are typically seeking something from us, not just sort of saying, hey, this is what we're doing, and what do you think? And I don't think we have a vote and like, this is for the city to adopt. And so like, are you just being polite? For the lack of a better thing, like, are you just trying to let us know what you're doing? Or I really am a bit confused. Sorry. Are you guys having another discussion?
We're just deciding if we have to freedom of the floor for Chris to talk or if he's part of the delegation. No,
Yeah.
I was listening. We're just making sure because he has an answer for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't get, I'm just confused.
Okay.
If I could share through the delegation to Ryan, because I suggested Ryan come and present to the rec commission. And the reason being is, you're right, Commissioner Hanegraaff, that these are city parks within city limits. But the other part of it is that both areas I and J and through the rec commission pay for the maintenance of those parks. So any of the decisions around service levels or changes to the parks can and will financially impact the rec commission, as well as some of the parks that we're talking about have received capital funds through the Recreation Commission. So both areas I and J do have a vested financial interest in it, as well as I think we just also want to make sure that we capture the reason why the areas I and J pay into those fields is because some of your constituents use those fields for services, ball fields, soccer fields, those sorts of things. So we want to make sure that as we're going through this process, we're able to capture what your constituents are wanting or needing too, because you pay into the fields, and want to make sure that we're also providing services that your people are going to use.
Okay, so supplemental.
Yes.
Will residents of I&J then be asked in the same way that city residents are about these facilities that are, I guess, managed by the RDCK, owned by the city and used by everyone, would kind of be my summary of it. And are you going to come back and ask for more money? Like to fund this study or anything? Like, I'm just trying to understand it.
Through the chair, Commissioner, sorry to unpack those one by one. The intention will be, yes, to certainly engage with the folks of areas I and J, and through direct communication engagement with the user groups themselves. There'll certainly be people who live in those areas that will have direct input on the plan from the perspective of those user groups, but nonetheless. So we will be capturing those. As far as the outcomes of the plan and looking at levels of service, funding, all those pieces, I think it's something that we'll certainly be coming back to have that conversation by all means. How that shakes out or what that looks like, whether it's a request for funding or discussion around levels of service to be provided in the community. I don't know that right now, but by all means, I think that's certainly part of me being here and being polite, but nonetheless, giving the overview of saying, hey, we're taking on this plan for the city, the community, the surrounding area, so that you're aware of it, and again, hopefully we get lots of input from areas INJ as well.
Yeah, so ultimately, it's the city's plan, the city's parks and the city's decision. Although we do through the rec commission, fund things.
Yeah.
Is that a fair
Through the
statement?
chair, certainly I would say so, yes, yeah.
Okay,
Um,
all right.
the,
And I understand that council saw this last night. And we were sort of a last minute addition today, which I've already voiced my opinions on through email, so I'll just leave it at that. That's got nothing to do with
well,
you.
sorry, through the chair, yeah, that's my apologies as well.
Pardon?
That's my apologies as well, certainly, so.
Brian, Chris's hand up behind you too.
Through the chair, I just want to make sure that the rec commission knows that the rec commission themselves were identified early as part of this process. And we're doing this as a proactive process. And so, can't speak to the last minute addition, but I just want you to know from the city's perspective that this is not an afterthought or we presented to council and, well, this rec commission is the exact opposite. We've been planning this for months and flagging early that the rec commission is an important part of this process. So.
Is the late additions a discussion for another time?
Commissioner Davidoff.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Director or Commissioner Handegraff has asked some of the questions that I also had. When the Rec Commission went to all 5 of the distinct communities in Area I, the Commission heard very clearly the need for support for what we have in terms of our parks in our area and our amenities. For example, the Glade Recreation Commission in Glade we funded all these with fundraising and with grants, tennis court, ball field, playground, used by the extended community. We have a fishing derby there. We have concession stands. We have a $9,000 toilet that we put in. The amount of money that's been spent on the park in Glade. I'm not talking Glade Regional Park. I'm talking about the park, the recreation amenities that are around the community hall. That's one amenity. We also have Kieran Galbraith Shore Acres Beach Park, which is a jewel. Shore Acres Beach is a jewel in our area where we have people coming from everywhere to utilize that park. You heard from our constituents. You asked the question about what our constituents saying. Our constituents made it very clear that they requested support from the Rec Commission for these amenities, because right now we are paying for them through our own fundraising in each community and through some grants that we receive from the Area I Director, Sentinel Mountain, that's me. And the bottom line is that even something like toilet facility at Shore Acres Beach Community Park is something I just gave a grant for, or I'm just giving a grant for, because we get them brought in seasonally. So that's just some ideas. Two really well-utilized parks that are not on anyone's radar. And when the commission came out to Shore Acres, came out to Glade, the commission was asked, how come there's no money flowing back to us from our tax dollars to help pay for these amenities? Before we went out, I asked the commission, made a motion. Please, before we go to these communities, let's include in our budget a small token, a gift to each of these communities to help pay. Our halls are our recreational facilities. Brilliant Cultural Center is not just and all our community halls, they're used for recreation. I asked for some funding for all of these before we went out to meet. The commission voted it down. So it's really ironic that we're sitting here talking about amenities for all Castlegar district. And you're going to come to us and talk about Castlegar parks. Well, you may not get a good reception because so far I've been on this commission for 15 years. I don't see money flowing up the Kootenai River to our communities. So I'm laying this out here on the record that engagement, when it suits the city, is one thing. You heard from our communities loud and clear. Taxes can't flow just down Norns Creek and down the Kootenai River to the city, to the amenities in the city. So I'm just stating that on the record, and I hope media is involved here because I hope this is being recorded. I know the Observer is recording this. Because this is the core issue about why Area I constituents do not feel supported by this commission.
Thank you, Commissioner
You're
Davidoff.
welcome. Thank you.
I have a question through to Craig, and I'm not sure if you can answer it or not. Who pays for the maintenance of those facilities that Commissioner Davidoff mentioned? Is that paid through the RDCK?
Yeah, through the chair, I'll defer to Carrie on that one.
Yeah, through the chair, no, those parks are not in any way supported by our regional park service.
Okay, so it's only the regional parks are not the ones that aren't considered regional parks, just so I have it clear in my head. Thank you. Commissioner Hayden, Chair Davidoff.
So just a couple of thoughts. Last night when Mr. Nittery went through this, I asked him to not only include the sports users at all of our parks and then, but lots of times for Millennium Park, we'll have like non-sports people book them through the rec. So to contact all of those people. And I actually really think this will be great learnings for both the city and the rec commission, because like right now, you know, if you're talking to the pickleball users, right, they want a new surface out here, right? So that would impact not only the city but the rec commission too, because that's money as well, right? Some people want, you know, right now I think it's $350,000 we get for the maintenance of the parks or whatever from the RDCK or something like that, short that. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Well, through the chair, we provide funding to the city to
Maintain,
support,
maintain the parks and that. And so, you know, if it comes out that people want more services, that's maybe an ask we have to come to, right? So it is a learning. And just Commissioner Davidoff, on your thoughts, maybe it's time that we do a similar thing that the city's doing for recreation in the whole region for area I and J, kind of get an inventory of everything that's out there and then go from there, right? So maybe that's something that we put, you know, who's ever sitting around this table next, we put that in as an action item for the budget, just to see what's out there and to see if we can do anything, right? So, you know, that's not the answer you want today, but that's something that we could possibly look at, right? Because right now we're just focusing on, this was something that was in our strategic plan and our budget meetings was to do this master plan. And that's why we're here sharing it, Because like I said, whatever we're gonna learn from all these people, and trust me, there's people from Area I that use our facilities here in Castlegar, Area J. So it's gonna be a learning for all of us, what they come up with, right? And maybe they'll say, Commissioner Davidoff, you know, we would rather have money spent at Shore Acres or whatever. We don't know what they're gonna come back with. You don't even know what the engagement is gonna look like, right? So I would not give up hope there. So just my point of view.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Commissioner McFadden.
I just want to bring some clarity to some of this conversation because I think they're just listening. There's a few pieces that I think have been lost. The plan that we're talking about today is already fully funded by the city. So there's no request for the actual plan. I'm correct, right?
Correct.
Making sure, great. So there is no actual request for funding. The reason why we're trying to be inclusive of Area I and Area J is because of that funding that's already in our budget for some of those parks. And that's going to impact user groups. The other part is that no one knows the boundaries, right? No one knows that they're now in Area I or Area J. A lot of people don't know that. And so we want to make sure that you guys are in the loop for if they see this and your constituents are asking. And I would bring your attention to page 14 of the presentation if you want to look. Just to Commissioner Davidoff, I take your point, but if you look at how many things are labeled on page 14, the city takes the bulk of these parks. Like we're not taking a lot of funding from the Rec Commission or, sorry, it's this one. I'll show you. I'm just that one. Okay. I'm just showing that if you look at the multiple green spaces and parks and all of those things, there's very few that are funded through this Rec Commission and a very small amount that goes to maintaining those things. So we're not talking about Area I and Area J taking over all of our parks and all of our things. We've already got shared things in there. I'm not saying that doesn't need to expand. I'm not getting into all of that. But the RDCK takes care of regional parks, and also you as individual directors have your own assets within your regions that you take care of, which is the same as the city of Castlegar. We have tremendous assets within parks that we're still taking care of. And we're not asking for Area I and Area J to help fund or asset manage any of those things. We're just bringing it forward because there are some shared things. And those shared things mean that if this plan comes forward and says, hey, we want service levels different on those shared fields, on those shared pickleballs, on those shared tennis courts. We don't want you to come out of left field and say, okay, now Rec Commission, how do we want to deal with that shared service? That's a communal decision. That's not a city of Castlegar. So although we might endorse the plan, we're not going to come and say, you guys now need to fund more. That has to be a joint decision on whether or not we want to increase those service levels. So I just wanted to kind of maybe separate like the city's part to this, which is our plan, but also where our regional partners do have a say and will have a say in some of it, and what that might look like. And that there are a lot of parks, a lot of assets that only City of Castlegar taxpayers pay for. And we're not asking Area I or Area J to pay for those or to maintain those or any of that. That's not what this is, nor is that, I think, anyone's intention with this request at all. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or comments? Not seeing any. Thank you very much, Ryan. Appreciate you coming to us with that. All right. 7.1 staff reports. Castlegar and District Arena and Walking Track Project timeline update. Michelle, please.
Yes, thank you. And sorry, I will try to get through this without breaking into a coughing fit. So through the chair, just a point of clarity, we've learned something about the new technology in the room. So as much as you only see the Craig, Andy, and the room online, there's a setting we need to change in order for you to see who also is online. But their observer is online, Carrie Gaynor is online, basically Jenna is online. So people, unless they turn their camera on the way the setting is, you think they're not there. But just know that they are there. So I will monitor it. Sarah is also online. I think that's it. Oh, there's Sarah. Yeah, that's what happens when you turn on your camera, they pop magically on to the screen. So we'll fix that setting with this equipment for the next meeting.
Thank you.
Our hope of no technological issues failed today, but that's okay. So on to the report. So, as promised, we wanted to bring back a timeline report. This was written late last week, so this is as up to date as it can be. So we've outlined a couple of key things that we thought were important to bring forward related to the arena and walking track project. So you'll see on the first page, there's about a 10 bulleted list on that page. So those are the ones I was going to walk through. The appendix does give you the broader, this one, the appendix does give you the much broader timeline, but I wanted to walk through the bullet points just to make sure if they're clear, and if you have any questions about it. And we also wanted to just touch on the engagement plan. We also had met with HCMA today and just wanted to provide a bit of an update on where that piece of this puzzle is at and what our strategy is there. Trying to do some things in parallel, but not too much until we know a bit more in July. So if you can bear with me as I walk through those bullets. So the RFPQ was posted publicly. That's the first step in the process that was posted publicly, I believe, late Thursday last week. Sarah has also developed a bit of a promotion to put out through other means beyond BC Bid, just to draw some more local attention to the fact that this is out there. We thought even if it wasn't to encourage anyone local to bid on the project or to put their request in for qualification, it may just encourage people to know that that is happening and that part of the project is moving forward. So that is out and it closes on June 26th. There are two pieces of information going to the board on June 18th. So that is the service establishment bylaw and the loan authorization bylaw. And after that date, after July 2nd, there are no revisions that can be made to that bylaw. So if there are any changes, that is our window, and that could be for any detail related to those pieces. So that July 2nd date is hard and fast, just so everybody is aware of that. They're scheduled for, those two bylaws are scheduled for third reading at the July board meeting. And once that third reading is complete, then there can be no further changes to the borrowing or taxation amounts. So that's, and I don't understand all of those little nuances, but those are just really important dates to keep in mind. On July 23rd, the bylaws and supporting documentation will be submitted to the inspector for review and approval. And significant attention has been given to meeting the inspector's requirements and reporting. And there's some rules on what we have to submit. And the hope is that we've met all of those requirements. And we don't have any delays in getting that approval at that point. In August, the assent vote materials and required resolution will be drafted. A legal opinion will be obtained if deemed to be necessary. We're not sure about that as of yet. Oh, Christy's trying to magically make people appear.
Hit show non-video participants. It's right down there. Yeah, no.
No.
Further.
Oh, look at that. Look at all those people that showed up. Perfect. Staff anticipating receiving statutory approval by September 18th. On September 24th, the assent vote resolution and ballot question will be presented to the board for approval. So those of you that sit on the board, those are kind of important things to take note of. Public notice to referendum logistics will be issued in late October and then again in mid-November. And then general voting day is still aiming to be for November 28th with official results declared on November 30th. So that's where the timeline sits, assuming all things sort of go as planned. And kind of those key pieces of information that need to happen over the next several months. So I thought it was also, when Sarah and I were looking at that timeline, we're like, well, let's kind of outline some of the public engagement. We know we're also coming into summer, and it's just one of those things we thought, well, the more we can communicate now, the better, and at least start talking about what those plans are. In particular, as some of you, may magically be on holidays this summer and may have to miss a meeting here or there. But we're in the early stages of planning for community engagement. So, and this is trying to figure out even when to start having some communication with the public, knowing where do we start doing that when we kind of know we've got at least the hope for the project. And so that's kind of where we're teeing things up. So part of our conversation with HCMA today was to actually go to them, to have them advance a proposal for us to sole source their services. Again, there's a bunch of processes we need to go through to confirm, to do that, but actually have them give us a proposal for some of the key pieces within the scope of engagement that we think are important to do. And so we just met with them today. We're hoping to get that back for them. I'm assuming, I don't know, Sarah, what you think, probably in the next couple of weeks, at the latest. And they're very keen to help us. They're extremely well versed in this project. They know all of the intricacies, have worked with us in past referendums as well, but are also just very closely connected to this project. So once we get a proposal from them, we'll be able to kind of work through what we need to do to actually contractually bring them on board. But some of the scope of services that we outlined with them, so we really talked firstly with them about kind of the plans leading up to the referendum versus we then realized in the conversation, well, there's actually some other, I'll call it more minor engagement about helping the community understand even where we're at in the process. And so that's some of the work that Sarah has started drafting right now about saying, what does it mean to be in the RFPQ process? What does it mean as we walk through those bulleted steps? You know, what does that tell the public as to where the process is at to help them bring them along versus waiting until we get to closer to the point where we're trying to call for public meetings or do pop-ups or have other pieces of that puzzle put together. So we're trying to kind of put that all into a package at the moment. You'll see on page 2 of the report, some of the engagement tactics that we've asked them to include in their proposal, as well as ask them to say, hey, if there's other things that you think would be of importance or value to please let us know, or if they have other ideas that they want us to consider, knowing the nuances with this particular project, we were all ears. So we've had, there's obviously, some of these are going to be very familiar to you. Community meetings, pop-ups, digital engagement, various advertising and promotion initiatives, such as mail-outs, posters, and all those types of details, and various communication materials that can be distributed in multiple different ways. So the general scope was more what we were trying to go for to share with you today, and certainly invite any conversation around if there's something that you would like us to take back to them. And so really that's the general principles around the report, and I'll throw it back to the floor for questions.
Commissioner Hayton.
It's great, the timeline, but I'm just wondering. Yeah, sorry. I asked. Do you want to go first? Okay, so we have here last 3 readings in the July. So when did they adopt? Are they going to adopt this in August?
No, I think, good question.
Because that's not in here.
No, I believe at 3 readings they can adopt. I may have to defer that to Dina.
I think so.
So I believe that what they're waiting on is they can't wait for an adoption until we've actually approved the actual project. So we can get to 3rd reading, but we can't actually adopt the bylaw until we have awarded the contract and know we're going ahead with it.
Okay,
So I would imagine that to be.
I think you may be right.
I'm pretty sure I'm right. Now, someone can tell me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's why we can't adopt until we actually know that we have a project and awarded that project. So we know how much money we're borrowing and we know like all the logistics of what's going into that budget.
So that would be sometime November, because November.
Through the chair, I'm not 100% sure.
We can do it before your referendum, but not until we have actually like picked a proponent. We know the exact amount and those things. So I would guess it's going to be September, would be my assumption, but it doesn't have to be the referendum, I don't think. Now, it could be wrong, but
No, I'm saying before the referendum.
Yes.
Sometime. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So maybe we just want to add a bullet there too, like that we should have in there, everybody
Adopted at this
at this point, we can adopt at this point, because that's a key point in the whole process. If the board's not going to adopt it, we're hooped. We're playing basketball by ourselves. There you go. Okay, that was my question.
Thanks.
Commissioner Hanegraaff.
Okay, I just want to be clear with the community meetings. These will be joint Castlegar and Jay, not a meeting, like people can attend
Mhm.
whatever works best for them. And I mean, we're geographically close, it shouldn't be an issue. And by the way, the Robson Hall has been upgraded with Wi-Fi and all the rest of it. So, yeah. Yeah, thanks to a grant from the RDCK director.
Boy, that
But
person's generous.
that person wants to use the hall more. But yeah, I'm not particularly dug in about where we have meetings, just as long as it's clear that it's open to the city and Jay, not just one or the other.
Through the chair, when we talked about this with HCMA today, the thought was that there would be 2 meetings kind of early in the engagement, and one of them, our thought was that we could geographically just ensure that from an accessibility point of view, that there was one in each of the areas. But those details can be sorted out later.
Yeah.
And the third meeting might be more like the culmination leading closer to when the vote is going to happen, where there might be some final questions, and for whatever that might be, is kind of the thought around where the third meeting would sort of sit. But again, all of those details can all get sorted out at a later date, but the general thinking was, yes, they would be open to anyone who could attend.
Okay, supplemental. I just, I want to thank you for this. Really happy to see voting day that's before the end of the year.
Yeah, we're
I get it, fingers crossed, hoping nothing goes sideways, but I really do appreciate that. I think it makes a difference to the community we serve. And so I really want to thank staff for sharpening their pencils on that one and making it happen. I do appreciate it.
through the chair, I will pass that on to many others who are not on this call today who also assisted. So I will pass on.
Thank you.
Commissioner McFadden.
Yeah, I would just echo what Commissioner Hanegraaff said around, we really appreciate you guys working at trying to get an earlier date. I know that this is a really tight timeline, but we get this is a complicated project, all things. And wanted to say, I really appreciate the thought put into public engagement before we're at the referendum and actually bringing them along for the journey. Because I think that means you can shorten that timeline of engagement where normally we may be doing more, maybe longer, if we're bringing them along for the project, like the whole way through. So I appreciate communications, like putting some time and thought into, yes, we can bring them along and hey, this is where we're at. This is what it means. This is the next step. I think that will help when we actually get to the end.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any more questions on this one? No? All right. Let's move on to 7.2. Please, Tricia, the naming rights guideline update.
Yeah, this is sorry, I'm gonna lose my voice for this meeting. This is really quick. So as you know, back in, I think it was March 3rd, that you first saw the guidelines related to the naming rights, and it was based on a value capture whole report that was provided. At that time, we also probably told you that all of these documents go forward for legal review as they're all sort of unfolding. And in this process, this one has now gone and come back from legal review. And we just wanted, in full transparency, to make sure everybody understood where any changes in relation to that review have occurred. And so all the report is identifying is what those changes are, because they're felt to be minor in scope, for lack of a better word, that it was felt to just simply provide it as information to commission. So you'll see, and I'll just quickly walk through some of the key ones. So they added under a section 2 called acceptable name criteria, items B and C. So talking about, making sure names reflect on the regional district appropriately, and that, and then any divisiveness or, anything that caused divisiveness would be inappropriate. Pretty straightforward, but obviously important to make sure it's in the document. Clarification in section 3. So just a board approved process as to what would occur if the board rejects a proposed name. Those details are just if there's any conversation or conflict in the process, just adding some quick detail to that clause. Section 5 around community consultation. There was an additional statement added, noting these guidelines are subject to change after public consultation is completed. So of course, again, another one that is relatively obvious but important to state. Section 7 was around transferability and assignment, so it's just clarification that the naming rights holder may assign or transfer the commercial naming rights to a third party with board approval. So it was meaning that if there was a reason to, I don't know, X organization wants to transfer those naming rights to Y, that there is a mechanism for that to occur, but would require board approval in the end. And then reversion, I don't know why that name struggled, the word struggled with me. Reversion triggers. So naming rights revert to the RBCK before the term expiry under any of these following circumstances. And it was just adding an item that was not already in there. And then a general statement added that the regional district will not be liable for any reputable or financial losses resulting from termination of the agreement. So again, nothing super surprising, but just felt important to raise that. And for you to then, if you looked at the documents in BC bid, you go, well, why does that look a little bit different than what was presented? That you would then know why, and that's where it's coming from. And that is all there is. Very important.
Thank you for that. Commissioner Hanegraaff.
Yeah, and apologies. The March 3rd meeting, I was in Mexico and was counting on 4 o'clock start. There was actually a 2 o'clock start. And so I missed most of the meeting. And so going through the documents today, on page 3.2B, and I think I have this as a question for the meeting, but I missed so much, but I think we were in public time by the time I joined. I'm just wondering why we identified tobacco and cannabis, but not alcohol. Is there a reason?
No, I don't know. No, that's my full rationale. Through the chair, I don't know why those particular ones, and even through legal, they didn't add any additional information to that. So, to be honest, that's as good as I can give you an answer for today.
Okay, I was just curious more than anything about it. It doesn't affect my opinion on any of this, but I was just curious. Thank you.
Okay. Any further questions or comments? All right, thank you very much. Appreciate that, Tricia, and your voice survived.
Yes, it is. Thank you.
Correspondence. Being that we don't get much correspondence, do we ask if someone wants to pull it, or do we just accept it for information?
You can discuss it.
Does anyone want to have Commissioner McFadden?
Yeah, I'll discuss it. I guess I'm not sure, like I just don't want them to not get a response from us. But reading through it, I'm not sure this is the space for this type of display. I mean, we're a rec facility. We aren't a Heritage Society facility, and specifically around we're not even just a Castlegar centric facility. So I don't think if it's talking about history of Castlegar and all these things, I'm not sure this is the space for it. So yeah, I don't think this is, that's all I have to say. So I don't think this is the space for it. That'd be my opinion on it.
I would agree with you, and I did speak with Maggie Shirley, the new director, museum, and it is not that they do not want to have the materials in their space. The case is simply too big. So she is still speaking with Mr. Gregory about it, and the museum is very limited for space, and they are working through all their exhibits. So what perhaps we can say that we've responded, and just respond and say we've received the information. We'll wait for updates from the museum, or I'm not too sure. Commissioner Hanegraaff, I saw your finger waving.
We saw it.
I saw your finger waving.
I would. Mine went to the same place yours did, Brian, except you've already talked to Maggie Shirley. To me, if it's heritage, it belongs with the Heritage Society, not the Rec Commission. And not, you know, not City Hall, but I think the Heritage Society is probably the appropriate resting place for this. Sounds weird.
Commissioner David Off, sorry, I didn't see your hand.
Oh, that's
Oh,
okay.
and I'm sorry I missed you too.
Oh, is Commissioner Eaton to be ahead of me? I'll defer to her. then.
Go ahead, Andy, it's okay.
Okay. So I know this topic very well, having served 30 years in the school district and having worked with Mac, my twin, by the way. He's my twin brother, for those of you that didn't know. That's a joke, but not a joke. But the kids mix us up all the time when we're in school. So to this day, I'm being called Mr. Gregory by some kids because in twin day, we wore the same outfits, and it imprinted on one student that calls me Mr. Gregory all the time. And Mac's wife calls me brother all the time whenever we communicate. I think the intent here is not to find a final resting place, as Commissioner Hanegraaff said. The intent here is to provide some exposure in a very highly utilized area like the complex. There's some really neat stuff in the archives that there's been more than 3 decades. This has been going on for decades and decades. Everything right now is just in a final resting place somewhere where nobody sees it, and nobody sees the light. You know, none of the materials see the light of day. I think there's got to be some way where we can work it out. I think it would be really interesting for people to see this. And we are not just a rec commission. Our mandate is recreation and culture, and we support arts, and this is part of and heritage is part of our mandate. So the key thing is, if you look at our service bylaws that we passed when we created this entity. So I think the idea is that to somehow find a way to bring those materials so they see the light of day, and the exhibit could be really fascinating because I know what we have, what the society has, and I think we should work with staff to figure out a way that we could do this at the complex. And I beg to differ with the rest of the commission that this belongs somewhere else. If you talk to progressive organizations that are finding different ways to exhibit art and other things. I mean, we are a leader in, I don't know in the world, but definitely in BC with respect to our sculpture walk. That's a big deal. So here, this is a small request to figure out how we can do this. So I would suggest that we refer this to staff to try and come up with some options, how we could work together with the heritage, with this society, to exhibit some of the materials. And maybe staff could take a look with Mac what we have. And there's some neat stuff that I think the public would be interested in and belong in an area like this, like the complex, and could have more exposure. People could see and there'd be more exposure to. So I would request just direction to staff to meet with the proponents here and to figure out and bring us some options to our next meeting, some possible options of about how this could be done. I could make that a motion, or I could ask the chair, is direction enough? And I'd like through the chair for staff to respond to my request.
Thanks, Commissioner David. I would like to hear what Commissioner Heaton and Shistobitov had to say, because I did go out of order and I apologize for that.
So my thought is, I think this would be better at the library, someplace like that, not at the rec center. Cause it's all to do with educational or whatever, so I think that's where it should go, to the library or someplace like that. You know, in hindsight, if we're not in hindsight, future sight, I guess, if we're gonna be building something here too, it's probably not a good place to have something like that. So I would suggest that we thank them for the letter and provide some suggestion or two, and not have it at the complex. That's my thought. And I would rather have all sports stuff here and new stuff here and move on.
Commissioner McFadden.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner Davidoff. I actually take your point that we do have culture and heritage in part of our things. And so I've kind of been listening and thinking, I wouldn't be opposed to a pop-up, like if there was a timed on this, but not in a case this big. So if they were looking to display some of their, you know, some of that history that they thought might be relevant to sports teams or something like that at the complex, I wouldn't be opposed to, if it fits within our, you know, within our mandate. But this is a very big case, and it sounded like from Chair Vogel saying is that some of that tension is they're looking for somewhere to put the case with everything. I would not be in support of a case this big coming to the complex. But if there was, you know, if there was educational material that was somehow interesting and fit into our mandate, and it was a pop-up for, you know, a few months or something like that, I'm not opposed to something being displayed here, but not in a case this big, and it would have to fit within some of those things and for a timed period. Otherwise, I think we end up with legacy things that we never know what to do with. So yeah, I just take the point up to Commissioner Davidoff, and I don't know where to go from there.
Is your hand up again, Commissioner Davidoff?
Yeah, I just want to point out school sports are a pretty big deal. And the key thing is that this is one of the options that I thought of right away. It says, well, maybe if we focus on, if you want to talk, because you're talking sports, remember, this complex is not about sports, totally. It's about everything else. It's heritage, culture, it's everything. This is the only facility we have. But if you want to focus on something sports related, they could put together a display, pop-up, whatever, on school sports and relevance. They have all kinds of records. They have all kinds of archival material. But I think just shutting it down, I get the idea with the case, but I'd like staff to pursue options with the society and not just shut this down, to see what is doable. And I really like Commissioner McFadden's idea about you could have a pop-up for a while, right? It could be kiosk style or whatever. There's all kinds of ways of doing this. So I think I'd like staff to answer, is staff okay with talking a little bit further to see possibilities, maybe not as, maybe a pop-up display, whatever, maybe focusing on school sports, but I don't want to just shut it down here. So could staff respond? Do I have to ask a particular staff person? Trish, what do you think?
What I was going to,
Oh, sorry, Chair. I'm asking a question through the chair to staff.
I realize that, but I was about to make a suggestion.
Oh, I'm sorry.
If I could.
Yeah. Okay.
What is the chances that we just respond that we've received the correspondence and take a look at this through the course of the month in conjunction with Maggie from the museum? I'm the liaison on that board. They have a very new and active board, and they are trying desperately to get things cataloged and get displays done. Getting work done that hasn't been done for a period of time in the museum and sorting out exactly what they have. So, and like Maggie said today, it's not that they don't want the items there. They're interested in the items, but they've got a lot of items that they need to catalog and find where they're going to display it. The entire upstairs is full. The boxcar is full. And downstairs, they had to put stuff away to get the painting done. So, like, I'm not opposed to having a pop-up in here. I just don't know if in June, it's the right time to be asking staff during moving into vacation time to take on another task. I have no idea how busy they are. But like, I'm not opposed to it. I've looked at this place several times when I've been in the museum. It is interesting. It's very interesting. But we need to find, in my opinion, find a happy medium. Like, should it be in a museum? Should it be here? Should it be in the library? Should it be in the school board office? I don't know. I'm just trying to find a happy medium and not load the staff up with more work when we already know that they're, behind the 8 ball. But
So Chair,
staff,
I have a suggestion as well, if that's okay after you're done.
sure, yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead.
I would volunteer to liaise with with MAC and the society. And come up with ideas for staff consideration and for future commission meeting. I have no problem doing that because I'm an educator. This is very interesting and I know what's there. So I think the commissioners who have never seen what exists, there's some pretty neat stuff there. And so what I would volunteer to do is I would volunteer to liaise with this society, with MAC, and come back to the commission. And that would save staff work because I will do it. And I'll do it if we have to do it over the summer, no problem. But to bring it back to a future commission with some ideas, and that may interest the whole commission. So is that fair?
I think it's fair. The other commissioners,
Sure.
sure.
I was just gonna say, like, I don't think staff has time for this. I would rather them.
Yeah,
work
I'm
on the
not asking
referendum and
staff to
that.
do.
So that's why this is
Yeah.
good. That's good. And
Yeah.
I'm not asking, I know staff is really working hard in the referendum, okay? And I
Yeah.
get
And I have no problem reaching out to Maggie and letting her know what's going on and
and
getting their input as well.
yeah, you can see
Fair
where
enough.
I'm taking the burden off staff, putting it on myself, because in July and August, I have some time to work on this. Mac and I, like I said, we're twins. We'll have fun and we will talk about this, come up with some ideas to bring back to the commission at a future date. That's what I'm volunteering to do.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Thank you.
You got it. You're welcome, Trish.
All right, public time. I'll now call for questions. Anyone in the room have any questions? No? And what about online? Is there any questions online? Just use the raise hand function, please. And I am not seeing any questions from online. Next meeting scheduled for July 7th at 4 p.m. right here. And I will call for adjournment, and I can't see the clock, so I have no idea what time it is. At 5:15.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Chair, it's Miller time.
Well,
The
the hockey game has started.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Night.
Good night.